I think what ultimately man is afraid of is to realize that he is completely nothing.
Is he nothing? Or that's what he thinks before he arrives at that point where he discards all his knowledge.
Come again, put it differently.
I'm saying, is he really nothing, or that's what he thinks he will be once he discards
See,
knowledge?
he's thinking because he doesn't want to accept that he's nothing.
Is he nothing though?
Yeah. I mean, that's why he's thinking.
But now, should he think of himself as nothing, then that thought should be coming from a certain information that he has.
Yeah.
Is that information correct?
So you see, the very second you get to that level, where you even start thinking that you are nothing, it seems like there's a contact that has
taken place,
and you thinking that it's nothing is your first escape. Your capture of the so-called contact.
Yeah. Because I think maybe also the fear is not that he thinks it's not that well, he might think that he's nothing, right? Because he then realizes that in the grand scheme of things, he's not the individual that he thinks he is. He's part of something bigger than him. He's not you as a person. You're not just you as an individual. You are part of everything. You're part of the whole. You're connected to everything.
Which is nothing.
Well,
let's look at it. Now let's get away from men a little bit. Let's talk about that. Actually, I think that is the only reason I actually want to have this discussion. I'm just repeating it. Hi everyone, welcome back to Mirror Mind. This is the second part of a discussion. We're talking about knowledge and how blinding knowledge is. Knowledge being limited takes you away from the freedom of life. Yet we give it a lot of importance because we seem to believe that the more knowledgeable we are, the more free we are. And knowledge goes hand in hand with free will. Please, if you haven't listened to the previous discussion, go ahead and listen to it. It will be easier for you to follow up on what we discussed right now. So, my brother, I think I wanted us to talk about death, but I think let's approach it differently. Let's describe what is it to be alive, like fully alive, not partly alive, living through the lenses of knowledge, I guess. Is there a way for a man to live a daily life that sees the entirety of this movement? Because you see, if will, as we described it, involves knowledge, and knowledge is binding by nature, yet we use 99% of our days juggling that knowledge. Then it means, because I mean, you have to walk, you have to talk, you have to I mean, even when you go to sleep, you dream. So all that is the movement of knowledge, a reactionary movement. Then it means that 99% of our days, except that free spell that we were talking about, that allows you to acquire something new or just see the immensity of life, right? It means that 99% of our days are illusory. We are never actually seeing the entirety of life. I've had a chance to go through at least the freedom to look at these things, because you can never look at these things without being free. If you're still struggling with something or another, you always try to tackle the problem or think about it, overthink and try to fix it, and it just puts you in a position where you can't acquire really anything new. But I'm lucky enough, I'm blessed enough, I'm not under immediate danger. we live in a society that is fairly secure, one way or another.
Yeah.
So it has given me the chance to at least look at these things seriously.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Gift was mentioning that when you were in the car, you were saying that we're talking about God.
God, yeah.
And you felt that intensity, like we are
Yeah.
actually talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what it is, but you know that it's,
Yeah.
that's how serious
Yeah,
it
because
is.
that's what I kept on saying. I was saying to them, when you talk about God, and then you go on to describe after that what it is that you are really talking about, at that moment you ceased talking about God. He can't be something that resides in our everyday language. He can't be something captured in that way. Because why I was saying that, it goes back to what you were saying about knowledge. So language captures information. We were laughing about it also when we were coming this side in the car, saying, isn't it strange that the language that you learned in your childhood, you are still using that language to refer to things that you're experiencing now? How did those people know that you still be able to, express those things in the language that you are speaking now? The only explanation to that is that you are still explaining
what has been
there.
Yeah.
But it's giving you the impression that it's something that you are living every day.
And it's yours.
Because how else can you explain it? Because you have to come to a point where you say, my vendor or my French must have missed this one, because I can't seem to describe what it is. But how many times a day do you come across something and say that? It almost seems that every day, whatever happens, it's still being carried by the language which was taught.
Yeah.
Which brings back to what you are saying, the question of death. Is the thing alive in front of you? Look at it. Is it living? Is it real? And if it is living in real time, how are you able to capture it with an old language?
You have an old language, and also with thought, because as we can even narrow language thought, whether it's English or Swahili or whatever. It's the process of acquiring of thought. We using thousands and thousands of years of past thought, and we move around that. We move around the life using that filter. So it seems like it's very rare for a man in his daily life to come across something new, something living, because something new is something living. Something that just started. Anything that isn't starting is old, therefore gone, therefore dead. And it's a privilege to be able to experience that. I've come across, I can say confidently that I've come across that. And it seems like the first recognition of that action is through amazement or being in awe. Like you were saying, we're talking about God. When you say you said God to describe something that it's so like we are literally talking about this serious stuff. So it's pointing to us, that feeling that you had. That's what I call living a serious life, living really living, not living like a zombie.
But that's like it's even less than 1%
of your days.
Of your days,
of course.
Of you actually experiencing, because when you do, you will not have words for it.
No, you can't have words.
You can't have.
That's what it's about being in awe, right? Being starstruck.
It's new.
Yeah.
And so imagine then going through life. So it will come back to what you're saying. Then we go through life thinking that we are living life in the moment, in the present, right? And if really that were the case, like we keep on saying, if that was the case, why does it always seem that we have words to, express it, words to explain it?
And we are obsessed with the expression.
Yeah, and we're obsessed with that expression.
Yeah.
And so it also makes one ask yourself, then how do you step out of that? How do you then begin to try and tap into that sphere where you can begin to partake in the reality of things? Because we've established that as long as you're doing it through knowledge, it's almost impossible.
So that's how unserious human beings are. You know, I know, to a lot of people when they hear this, right, they might say, what is this man talking about? He thinks talking about life is being serious. I'm doing real stuff, building microphones.
Yeah.
Thank God we have people like that, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to use any of this.
But it seems like there's a really serious way of living this life that opens a way that is free, that is new, and that every man should at least strive to achieve. I guess we're all trying to do that by creating all of this, but without realizing that every attempt to do that is kind of taking us away from that. So that's what I mean by, can a man live a truly complete life? Can you be awake in your daily life from time to time? Because we understand that knowledge will always cover it up. But those few moments of amazement, of complete ignorance almost, of not understanding what the heck is going on, as short as it is, I think the secret lies in those tiny moments.
I think that's where real life
is.
Real life is, because I normally talk to people, and the first question I ask them is, I try and show them how this whole thing is exactly the way we are explaining. Where I say to you, just a simple question. I'll ask someone, what is your name? They might say, I'm boss, or I'm gift. Say, no, that's not your name. You were given that name. What really is your name? Because there you are trying to bring someone to a point where they realize that almost everything that they claim to be their own actually isn't. The language you're speaking, the way you're dressed, and even the goals that you're pursuing, no matter what it is, do you ever stop and think and ask yourself, out of all this, what is it that really comes from me? Because it always seems like I'm living a borrowed life, or I'm living a life that has already been lived before, because there's nothing new that is happening in this maze that I find myself in. And so the only way, or maybe the starting point to do that, like you pointed out, is to see knowledge for what it is.
So can a man be that serious in his daily life?
The problem is, once you do that, you really have to cut yourself from what other people call life. Because now it means partaking in this life means doing exactly what we are saying blinds you from, because it's an everyday thing. You have to get up.
That you have no choice.
So that you have no choice. So maybe at certain moments,
I think those moments are more than enough. But those moments are actually, I think, very rare people do that. To have that starstruck moment. Because you see, from what I've observed, at least, by interacting with people, looking at, anyone really, it's either you are constantly chasing pleasure, or you are running away from pain, which is the same thing, isn't it? So it's either you want to feel good, or you want to Well, generally it feels good. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
most people don't want to hurt themselves, although we have few people that are a little bit deranged.
Mm.
But I think to them, they've become so disturbed. Life has pushed them in a corner so bad that their good has become hurting themselves.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe their good would be suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just finish with this game. Then at least I would be good. There's too much suffering.
But now, isn't that an attempt to try and numb yourself from
That is the result.
question of, this question that might come to you where you have
Yeah.
to ask yourself that, what am I really?
That is the result of an unserious life. If you live life unseriously,
Yeah.
you are bound to get there. Sooner or later.
Or if you're not busy enough.
No. Well, serious in the way that we've described.
Yeah.
If you don't look at life in its entirety, in its seriousness,
Yeah.
in its mysterious element property,
Mm-hmm.
you are bound to get to, because you will indulge either in pleasure or
Yeah.
pain,
Mm-hmm.
which eventually will push you to a corner where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
is that it?
Yeah.
And I don't think you will have enough courage to actually look at, is that it? Because think about it. To get to a point where you ask the question, is this it? Is this life? This is it? That takes a very serious
Yeah.
man or woman to get there.
Yeah.
You might get to that question, but to even stay with that,
Yeah, it's scary
it's scary.
because you probably, before you even get there, you'll probably be aware that the answers that you are searching for probably will have to be answers that you have to figure it out on your own, because at that point you said whatever knowledge is there is not getting me to this point where I want to be, because you see through it all. That's what I'm saying. Before you spoke about success, that when you say someone is successful, when you get to that point, you realize that
It was a smoke screen.
exactly. And so once you remove all these things that are important in that aspect of knowledge, or in that life where we take knowledge so serious, you ask yourself then that what is there?
Could it be that man is scared of nothing? Is scared of
I think
finding out?
men
not finding out.
we cannot comprehend nothingness.
Yeah, could it be that man is scared of not finding out? Because you see, finding out means you find out something or about something. There's a presence.
It could be that, or it also could be that it's there is no clear-cut way of finding out. Because I think a lot of people
Yeah.
ask themselves that, okay, I live this, and then what? I see this for what it is, I live it, and then what?
Yeah,
I
so man
stop
wants
having,
to put something.
I stop having these desires that you are saying emanate from whatever information I've accumulated, that they probably emanate from sources that are not even of my. Okay, I leave that, and then what else remains? So I think for an ordinary person, then that becomes the only logical way of living, because they would rather not deal with that. They would rather deal with something that's already out there, because most of it, like I said, it lies within the realm of knowledge. They just go and search and then see, okay, it's already been there, it's already been done, maybe I can just try and do it better. But even in doing that, you are still doing what is being done. You're not living in a way.
Yeah, you are, I guess, reliving.
Yeah, you are reliving the whole experience, probably lived by someone else, or so the challenge then is, I abandon that, I leave it, and I see this for what it is. What then? So I go to
what
the
are you
mountain.
so? No, I think that's a terrible thing to do. First, what I'm saying is, I'm not asking anyone to abandon anything. are you at least serious enough to see what you are, your own movement of life?
But I think every man sees it. Every man sees it, and then when they see it, I think
They don't
that's
stay with it.
yes. Those that decide to stay with it they turn maybe into religion.
Yeah.
Some turn into, because they are aware that there should be something more than this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you do this and you come to a point again where you ask yourself, is
But
this
why
it?
do they idolize that? Why it seems if you talk to very serious religious people or even scientists, they acknowledge that there's something beyond knowledge, and they turn into knowledge.
Why they hold on to it so
Why
so
do
much?
they turn that understanding? Why do they keep playing the same game?
I don't think they've taken time to really think of it the way a more serious person would have. I don't think they see through it. They probably think that is the whole thing. You know?
Mm.
Because it's a painful thing to go through it, to realize that I've probably never lived a day as myself.
Mm.
You know, I've been roaming around this earth with a name that was given to me. You know, 99% of the choices that I make are based on information that was given to me. You see that and then you do what? I think that's where the challenge
Why
is.
should you do something?
If you do nothing,
No.
the idea of you being at a point where
Yeah.
you are not going left or not going right.
Yeah.
For a human being, I think that's a difficult place. We always
Yeah.
want to be doing something.
See, that's the thing. You realize that, and then you see, and then what? See what that implies.
That you should
Conti-
always, that
continuous.
continuum, yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't that human nature? Are we not naturally designed to want to?
I think it's that's an escape to say it's human nature, because if you acknowledge that there's that freedom that can actually touch you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then if you say it's human nature, that's you saying, well, that's it. I'll deny that thing forever. I won't be touched.
Mm-hmm.
You are constantly saying no. Then
To defend yourself
from what?
from the unknown.
Yeah.
From the unknown.
No, you see, you are not defending yourself from the. You are defending yourself from the known.
From what you think.
You
know.
from what your knowledge is
Yeah.
telling you or assume to tell you. Not the unknown.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you be afraid of the unknown? You see, what man does is he creates an idea of the unknown.
Yeah.
Some blank states,
Yeah.
some blank.
But if you open it up, you
Yeah.
you will see that under the veil there is what the man knows, but he wraps it up as something unknown.
Mm.
It's like a hidden fear that
It's a
one
hidden-
has. Yeah.
I think what ultimately man is afraid of is to realize that he is completely nothing.
Is he nothing? Or that's what he thinks before he arrives at that point where he discards all his knowledge.
Come again, put it differently.
I'm saying,
Mm.
is it really nothing, or that's what he thinks it will be once he discards
See,
knowledge?
he's thinking because he doesn't want to accept that he's nothing.
Is he nothing though?
Yeah. I mean, that's why he's thinking.
But now, should he think of himself as nothing, then that thought should be coming from a certain information that he has.
Yeah.
Is that information correct?
So you see, the very second you get to that level, where you even start thinking that you are nothing,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like there's a contact that has
Taken place.
and you thinking that it's nothing is your first escape,
Mm-hmm.
your capture of the so-called contact.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because I think maybe also the fear is not that he thinks them. It's not that. Well, he might think that he's nothing, right? Because he then realizes that in the grand scheme of things, he's not the individual that he thinks he is. He's part of something bigger than him. He's not you as a person. You're not just you as an individual. You are part of everything. You're part of the whole. You're connected to everything.
Which is nothing.
Well,
let's look at it. Now let's get away from men a little bit. Let's talk about that. Actually, I think that is the only reason I actually want to have this discussion. I'm just repeating it. So, you see, we have an idea of nothing as some blank, empty space, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way I look at it is nothing is really all there is, as in it's everything. It's the capacity to be all there is, to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see, if an individual really discovers that he isn't special, he isn't what he call individual,
Mm-hmm.
right? He isn't divided.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing personal. Your behaviors are people's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
What really drives you deep down is what drives everyone else.
Yeah.
So this is my reflection in a way, on a personal level, on a human level.
Mm-hmm.
You're serious enough, you look at the whole of life. You see the whole interconnectedness of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know the worst thing, and how clever this mind is, or whatever that is behind this, is we can use all these clever words, interconnectedness, all one,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we stay away from the actual word, the meaning behind the word itself,
Mm-hmm.
by twisting it, by using it, turning into a fake version of the actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's so much fuss about this whole interconnectedness,
Yeah.
Ubuntu,
Yeah,
what's
oneness,
not,
yeah.
oneness and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But oneness isn't something to be thought about. It's something it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think about it. So, if you're serious enough, you see the details. So, I guess what we're doing here
Mm-hmm.
is pushing knowledge to a level where it's cornered
Mm.
and it loses value.
Yeah.
Then the other can naturally happen.
Mm. So, I would think why would always come to a point where it almost seems difficult to, put a term or a phrase or whatever it is that this thing is. I think where it lies, it does not lie in the realm of anything that can be expressed in a language.
Mm.
It's something that's, like I was saying, that's just there.
Mm.
It's not something that you can point and say it's this or it's that, because
It's not. You see, when you say this, then you
Yeah.
imply.
yeah, you imply something that you can actually point and name and call what it is. But and again, when we're not talking about the whole human.
No, let's talk. Let's get away from men. Is full of nonsense. Let's talk about. Let's be a little bit disrespectful and talk about that.
Yeah. So I'm saying even that,
Mm.
at that point, men ceases to exist.
Yes.
You see? And once men ceases to exist at that, then what would you call it? Because what it then becomes is not something that lies in the realm of language. I've watched some videos by Alan Watts when he talks about something that does not have a phrase or a term. He rings a bell, it goes, "Ding." Because once you name that thing, or once you give it a phrase or anything, then it becomes exactly what we are trying to run away from. It becomes that knowledge.
So why does he ring the bell for?
Because it's not something that can be uttered by any.
But then he just replaced the word by a sound.
Yeah, but then what would you call that sound? What would you interpret that sound as?
Now,
The idea is to run away from you naming it or calling it.
But that's naming still.
Yeah, but what would you name it?
I mean, I'm saying the bell
Yeah.
is naming it.
Yes, but
Yeah.
when that bell rings,
So I'm
what would
saying
be
that's
the interpretation?
that's being unserious. I'm sorry.
But also in a way,
yeah, no, but I know I understand.
It's a way of trying to
concept.
say this thing is not really something that, and once you get there, and then once you see it,
Yeah.
the next word can come.
You see, once you see it, what I look at, once you get there, if you're serious enough, if you don't name it, if you don't ring a bell, if you don't run away,
I think it's only there to be experienced, not to be
yeah,
learned.
it's even experience is really kind of
Yeah.
you know trying to express that, but literally it's there.
Yeah.
And you know, and that thing, when I'm saying it's there,
Mm.
what we're looking for is this.
Mm.
But
now,
we are so, you know, men, that I feel the way I look at it, the most unserious people are the people that are always searching for mysteries, coming up with mysteries, talking about it.
Mhm.
I guess we fall in that box.
Yeah.
You know, the real mystery is what this man here is doing. Without naming it, you know, without putting it in a timeline, without almost being stupid, quote unquote, being a child.
Mhm.
Looking
Being
at,
instant, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how to call it.
Being instant, like you're not thinking it,
Yeah.
you just
It's happening.
Yeah, but this is where I'm saying once it takes that that form,
Mm.
for lack of a better word,
Mm.
you can't name it.
No, then we can now start having a discussion. You see, if you do that, and I do that, there's no longer two people doing it. It's there.
Yeah, but in expressing it,
In
you will need a
expression, it will
language.
be like this, yeah.
But you'll need a language.
Yeah, it will be what's happening here.
Yeah, but then language is information. You need a new language for that.
No, it will happen in a different way.
Yeah, but in expressing.
Yeah, expression will also be limited.
Unless if at that point it will manifest itself with the language. And again, you can't get to it without touching on spirituality.
You know why I'm saying that?
Yeah.
I think we will cut this one out.
Mm.
Please, if you'll be able to cut it before you even send it to me, because I don't know how to edit this thing.
you don't know how to edit.
Hey, can you see this computer of mine, man? I can't do any video.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see, I tell you, that's why I liked the fact that it's even started with God's will.
Mm.
I tell you how serious this thing is. You know that day when you sent me a message,
Mhm.
I had just woken up, right? And I was talking. I told you I had a long discussion with you. We were talking, and you sent me a message. It was some business
Mhm,
stuff,
mhm.
right? And so it was very, very interesting. We had this long conversation. It was me and you and some. So, in that thing that was happening, it was me and you in this house.
Mhm.
Think about how weird that is, because I mean,
We are here.
we're supposed to normally we
Mm.
go to a studio.
Mhm.
The least that I could expect is maybe to go to Gift's
Gift's,
place. So there's my interpretation. I'm like, why? How come we're having this discussion in the house?
Yeah.
You know, so that's already weird.
Mhm.
You know, the whole thing is happening. We're talking about how this thing. We get to a point where we realize that look, actually, this thing that is happening isn't
Real.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what we call death, I guess. This is what we call nothing.
Mhm.
So it's reality acknowledging that it doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Yet it's reflecting itself in this
Yeah,
moment
it's
here.
something living. Yeah.
There's the freedom that is there, the clarity, so basically, to be honest, if I were to be honest, I'm not sure if that's not what happening if you're not gonna wake up and send me that goddamn message. That's how serious it is. So today, I'm thinking, I told you I don't want to take a certain approach because I wanted to. That's my way of seeing the validity of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave it to you, but I kind of gave you a clue because you said I mustn't forget about the dream.
Yeah.
But to me, I know it's not a dream. That's what we call reality. It will happen that way. So next thing is, all right, let's go to the studio, but then it will be easier to go to gifts because it's a friend, we don't have to waste money and all that. I'm saying, okay, well, that's good because last time I spoke to Gift, we had planned to have a session and we we're going to talk about free will, right? So my idea was, okay, how much freedom do I have in actually dictating my day? How will this actually turn out to be? So that's the discussion I was going to have with Gift and you when we get here. Funny enough, you tell me, well, look, there's a power outage there. There's no, I can't. This man is not gonna. Maybe we go to your place or my place. But then you tell me there's a crash at your place, so it'll be a little bit noisy. I'm like, well, I don't care. So anything that I'm doing, I'm trying to not interfere as much as I can because I really want to see
where it's gonna.
That's how it is. Yeah. So I said, well, I don't mind, but anywhere. So we said, well, at your place. Now, later on, I was already on my way, by the way. I was gonna drop my friend at the airport, then fetch you, and then go to Gift. So I'm changing the whole scenario. So as I was driving, there's this pigeon that was on the road. So I go, and then because my car was making some funny noise. And then I was focused on that, and then by mistake I see the pigeon, but like 2 seconds before I hit, I'm like, oh shit, and then I hit the pigeon, so the pigeon dies. I'm like, what a terrible thing! Just my stupidity of trying to find out about my car, I just killed the living thing. So I was just so triggered by that. I ended up going to turn by the robot just to come and see if the pigeon is actually dead. I'm hoping this thing is not dead. So I get there, actually I just kind of broken its wing, but it's there, it's moving. So I'm like, okay, well, at least I didn't kill. So I come back, then you tell me, you know what, at this point, I don't know, you told me maybe we should reschedule.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you told me about the week, I'm like, well, during the week I'm never free, but really anything is fine.
Yeah.
So that's me really actually trying to prove that I don't want to interfere. However it turns out, that's how it will be. Everything led to us getting here. So when he was saying, like, am I going to be part of this? So that's me literally saying, well, I don't want to interfere. And I said, well, it's good. We had agreed that we're going to talk. You might as well come and sit, because I wanted to talk about free will. But in the moment that when that thing happened, the last time, that morning when I woke up, it was a discussion between you and I. There was no third person.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, well, maybe this thing is it's free, whatever. There's not, and I didn't want to interfere with him. I didn't want to say no or no. I'm just giving him the options. He chooses. That whole discussion was having to be there or not to be there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
He chooses to be there, and then somehow in this, he goes and decides to be on the side, and we're having this discussion. So, and that he started actually the conversation by saying God's will. That is God's will, the way I look at it. That is freedom, in the sense that it is created, it is put forward for man to behave as if he's actually deciding things. But no matter what you do, I don't see anything that you can do to interfere with that action. So the reason I'm saying we are not serious, because at that moment when we're talking, I think here we can it was recording still.
It doesn't pause.
Oh, it doesn't pause. So the reason I'm saying we are not serious is, see, when we're talking that day, or see when we're talking now, the heaviness of seeing that this thing isn't here, or rather where life is saying this is death, and accepting, staying with that fact, as much as we realize that no, Tume isn't here, it isn't happening. There's something behind this thing that has somehow found a way to convince itself that it's here. It's seeing itself in this manner. That is very heavy.
Once you see it.
Yeah, to see it and to stay with it, to actually realize that this is what we call nothing. There's no going out of this. You can modify, play around with it, imagine stuff. But this is it. So I wonder why men can't be content with this and see the beauty, like the seriousness of life itself, and want something more than what is already there.
Well, I think well, first of all, do they see that they?
Then that's the thing. They never see this.
That's what. Yeah. So I'm thinking if they never even see that they are still stuck on this, they are only, and they don't see it the way you might, or the way I might see it. For them, this is.
But doesn't it sound like the simplest thing ever to just see, to just listen?
It's not, especially. Okay, so for example, like what you said, you're looking at this mic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not there.
Yeah.
You know? So for the simple man, it's there. But for the one who sees, it's not there.
So that's the fear of death?
Yeah, that's the fear. It's also the fear of letting go.
But letting go, that's the thing, letting go of what? You know, you're only afraid of letting go because you're under the impression that you are.
Or letting go of the sum of all that you think you are. Because at the end of the day, all you are is knowledge. And if you are saying to me, I must let go of that, like what we're talking about, my nature as a human being is I have this capacity that needs to be filled up. You know? So that's how I was saying that for some people, they realize that and then they say, things of the world will
you see
not
that
do
capacity?
It. Yeah.
You see that capacity? It's there. That's creation. You see the capacity is what creating. Out of that capacity, knowledge is coming out like mushroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are obsessed with the mushrooms, the different objects coming out, not the ground that is making these things come up. And we've gotten to a point where two trees, you know, the tree coming out of the ground, one tree has really convinced itself that it's separate from the other tree. And we live in this eternal war.
Yeah.
In ideas, in wars, in different religions and all that.
I think for a man who has not yet thought of things that deeply, it's his only way of making sense of the world that he lives in. It's the only way of even experiencing the world that he lives in. Because take that away from him, you might render that person mad. Because they have nothing else to hold on to. You know?
I think you only become mad if you're fighting it too much, if you're attached to it.
But you fight it if you don't understand what letting go of it will give you. So you are likely to fight it. You know? Because it's a like I said, it's a very scary question to ask someone that if you show them that the sum of all that you think you are is not you. You know, something as, like I said, something as small as your name, that you hold on to it, but it was given to you. So if you convince someone that, look, even the smallest of things, you know, you tell them even your choice of dress, it's influenced by something else. What really is it that belongs to you? So once you put them in that corner and they begin to think.
You see, they do, some of them do.
Only
and
for
then they come up, some of them
Yes.
do, and then they come up with these books, you know, these
the
Freud, and
yeah.
they come up with theories entrap the rest of whoever's gonna read this
But
thing.
now, if you do that to the fullest, you end up not being part of this world.
I think there's a middle ground. You know that quote, that thing. There's too much love involved in it for it to let you just go astray.
Yeah, but in a world that has less love,
Oh yeah, of course you
Yeah.
would suffer more.
you suffer more. So
Yeah,
that's
but
what I'm
you're
saying.
not
Because
blind, man.
once you see it, one of the things, like I said, that you realize is there is no difference between you and I.
Mm.
There is no difference even between this and me. It's the whole thing is just the same,
Mm.
you know. But it has a way of painting itself as though it's something else.
Mm.
So imagine if you're living in a world where you acknowledge that the next person is the same as you,
Mm.
and you carry that everywhere you go. You carry that understanding that boss is me and I am boss. But I deal with you with that mind, but you don't know that. Do you realize the kind of space or position that I put myself in?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a very vulnerable position, right?
But I think it's people don't do it probably because they feel they'll be
Yeah.
vulnerable. People would say too much evil would be on top of it.
But do you realize that people that have understood that there is more to this world than what we see with our eyes, they've always been abused?
Yeah,
Look at even your...
well, I mean, we killed Jesus.
Yes,
for Christ's
Jesus,
sake.
even your Martin Luther's, the people that have always tried to see a glimpse of a bigger picture, that look,
Yeah.
you and I are the same. They always get killed. I don't know why. Because it's something that's supposed to resonate with everyone, because they're not preaching a message of hate. But those people, for some reason, they can't seem to survive in this
Yeah,
world.
they're not successful.
Maybe it's nature's way of getting rid of,
It's
or it's nature's
could
way
be-
of upgrading them. I don't know what it is.
yeah.
Or we think it's actually death, but they've actually moved to a life.
Yeah, maybe. Who
Yeah,
knows? Yeah.
we see it as death, because in this life, if we are already living death, we are bound to interpret most things
Yeah.
as in a negative way. But I don't think it's really death to them.
No, there must be to them.
They've come
if
out.
you take these people and those are the people that probably shape the world. The unfortunate thing, you have opposites of them.
Mhm.
People that know that there's more to this world, they're a little bit serious, and then they just make sure they dominate the world.
And they live, and those ones survive for a long time.
They're the most
no, one,
successful.
no one kills them.
Yeah, I mean, if you know these guys, I mean, the actors or the poets, they indulge in so much self-pain, self-hatred, that they come up with something that
Mm.
everybody glorifies, because everybody is identifying to that suffering.
Yes.
So, but
Because you are right. None of this, if you really look at it, none of it is real. You know?
It's a
yeah,
curtain.
it's I don't know how to explain it, but I always say if you can see it and if you can understand it, it's because it has always been
Yeah.
in you. You know, if you can see it and you can explain it, then you must have always known it.
Mm.
And if that's the case, then it's not living,
Mm.
because it's
Mhm.
always been there.
Something explainable.
Yeah.
It's not living.
It's
a
not
portion,
living,
it's
yeah.
a dead
Mm.
version.
It's only when we experience something that hasn't been there that they've coined a phrase from, they call it a miracle. And it's, it's a miracle. It's a word used to describe something that's even in our own language we can't explain. But the exciting part about it is exactly what you're saying. Would you rather live in a world where is the nothing miraculous happens, or would you rather live in a world that's miraculous?
Mm.
Everyone would choose the miraculous world,
Mm.
because whenever a miracle happens, everyone loves a miracle. You see? Yet how many of our lives, or how many times in our lives do we experience what we'd call a miracle?
I think
You could go through life.
But you see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you really see through it, in fact, the whole thing is a miracle. The whole of life.
Mm-hmm.
The tragedy is that we've gotten used to it,
Yeah.
to movement, to even personally fear, jealousy, anger, compassion, all that. We've gotten used to it. But the whole thing is just a goddamn miracle.
Mm. Or would you say maybe we are focusing on the wrong aspect of it?
Yeah, we are narrowing it down. I mean, if suppose I come up with some, it's like a guy, like these guys, this prophet.
Mm-hmm.
He comes and tells you maybe of an incident, and then it happens, right?
Yeah.
That's him really. You see, he is under the impression that I feel like he's caught in time. He's really under the impression that there's a movement.
Mm-hmm.
That something will happen as if it's not happening.
Mm.
Because you see, if you see something that's gonna happen,
It's already happened.
and then it happens,
It's already happened.
it's happening. So what's the point of putting it out there? If you don't have some interior motive,
Mm.
if you're not on a personal level trying to take advantage of that one way or another. Isn't that corruption, the beginning of corruption?
It is being self-motivated, having your own.
You're bringing your confusion to whoever you're sharing that thing with. So you gotta
So
be
how
very
would you
careful.
then explain your experience of seeing this day happening?
So the only reason I mentioned it,
Mm.
because first, as I said, there's no choice in me doing this, as in it's God's will.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's what I said. It's me repeating,
Yeah.
and also it's a way for me, perhaps through my saying it, then the thing is present. It's almost as if you see it and I see it and he sees it, it's there.
It's there, yeah.
It's happening, and you see it through the intensity of it. You could be on your own there sitting, just realizing the intensity of life, like we were saying, the guy in the car talking about it.
Yeah. So how would you then talk to a man that has not seen this thing in a serious way?
No, knowledge.
How would
Yeah.
you?
It's to talk about, to encourage him to see
Mm.
his movement of knowledge, to see what he is, what he's doing.
Do you think that would make somebody a better person once they see it?
No, not necessarily. He can be evil. He can also use that to write a behavioral theory on how to use people,
Mm-hmm.
because he knows himself now. He can use anyone. But at least it takes someone to begin at least to be that serious to even consider dropping that.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, how are you gonna drop it?
Because people are such complicated creatures, so obviously I can come to a point where I realize that the whole thing is not so separate from me. You sitting there, it's me, call it whatever you want to call it. It's me in a different composition or whatever, or how you want to put it.
Yeah. You
No?
start on that stupid level of atoms
You start on that,
and compassion and what's
but not only that, the way I see it, there's really it's just one thing.
Okay, so now that's what I call serious.
Yeah.
Not as an idea, knowledge giving you the impression that there's no division.
Yeah.
You've gotten over the knowledge, you've seen the actuality of it, it's actual.
Yeah. But now once you see it like that, because I'm saying, when you see it in that way, to say, okay, you sitting there and anything else that I see is a part of me, or I am that, or that is just one thing, you know. It then leads you to a point where you then ask yourself, what does it then mean? Where does it put me? What implications does that thing have? All that, you know,
let's look at the implications.
Yeah,
for
it comes into play. Because for me, obviously, you then realize that, well, one of the things that I then notice about seeing things that way is that it means all the pieces in that thing are very important for the whole to function. You know, so you might look at a murderer, right, and then you say, you're a murderer, you're killing people, but as long as that person is a part of, I don't know how, but there's a purpose that they are serving there. It's a scary thing to think of it, but like I said, when you think of blood, you see how the red blood cells function when there is a virus or whatever it is that gets into the blood. They get inside and they lock, right? During that locking, they get rid of that thing, but they also die. You understand? So if you look at it from that perspective, there's something wrong happening there. But in the bigger picture, what's happening there has to happen so that that whole thing can function the way it's supposed to function. But there's nothing that's happening apart from everything. Everything is happening as a whole.
Could we say that as long as something is happening, it's the parts interacting with another part?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
So now, can you be in your daily life, when life doesn't impose you, of course, to be active? Can you be okay with nothing happening?
It's difficult, but it's something to be.
Why is it difficult? What's the reason for men to run away from? Is it because it's too much? That which we're talking about is too much for. No, I think it has to do something with dying.
Yeah.
Actually, really, really dying. Because think about it. Let's assume there's an actuality of you realizing that this isn't here. Isn't that the real contact with death?
It is. Then at that moment, I cease to exist. I become nothing.
Become nothing, and I mean.
Well, that's how I think of it.
Yeah.
I think I become nothing.
Yeah,
but
well,
it could not be.
Yeah, well,
there's a possibility that it's not that.
Well, if you realize that this isn't here, right?
Yeah.
Yet it is here. See that paradox? I mean, language is trying to put these things together. But let's really see that there's an actuality.
Well, it could be here because of the knowledge that I have.
That you have, yeah.
Yeah, but in reality, this isn't here. Or at least it's not how I perceive it to be. I only perceive it this way because of the knowledge that has been impacted in me. But once I drop that, I do not know how I perceive it. I probably won't see you the way I see you. I see you this way because of the knowledge that I have. I know you're a black person. There are all these things that are playing in my head that eventually make me see you the way I see you. So also how I see it, I always like to point out at biblical stories. When you look at water, you see something that you can't walk on. Right? Until Jesus says, come. Right? And then you find yourself walking on water. You do that until a point when you start doubting. Now, doubting is you bringing your knowledge and saying, this is water. People don't walk on water. What's happening here? The moment Peter does that, he sinks. You see? So that's why I'm saying I do not know what form this thing would take.
So could it be, isn't the secret in there? As in, the capacity to realize that this isn't here. It's actually you acknowledging, like, actually, that this isn't here.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy feat.
Well, because that implies you're deaf.
Yes, it's not an easy feat.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe like I always say, that's why even part of being a Christian is being born again and dying to your old self.
Mm.
You know,
faith can really move mountains.
because faith by definition is, you know, believing in the substance of things that you cannot
see.
Mm. Because seeing already implies that you have acquired certain things, and you know, and then someone says put that aside.
So then what is the future of man?
Probably to leave this world as we know it.
Because the more we evolve, the more we are alike. We're creating now this AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Giving it information. It has so much information that it can almost mimic consciousness
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, you know, actually mimicking it. And, you know, they have, you know, these Apple product they're coming up with, you know, the one that alters reality. I forgot how to call it. It's not the VR, but it's like a thing where you wear it. It's like glasses or something, and then it's actually put stuff down there.
Mm.
So that is still on a very low level.
Mm-hmm.
We probably get to a point where
it gives you
directly connected to the brain. It gives you just like dreams. You see, when you go to sleep,
mm-hmm.
because you have the knowledge of it, there's the feeling of it being real. Man is going in that direction. For sure, he will get there to a point where you could sit there on the couch, you plug yourself into some sort of device, just give yourself information, and it's your next thing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably lose ourselves there. It's already hard as it is to see reality as it is, right? Now imagine ourselves plugged into these machines. We already plugged, aren't we, when we watch this TV?
And now you have to separate what you are seeing from that technology to what you perceive to be reality.
We're giving so much importance to technology, but the human technology itself, like you looking at yourself, we're completely disregarding it because it's a little bit tough. So I feel in the next future, put it, you know, organize itself very well. You can literally simulate some sort of reality.
Yeah.
And some people will be caught in it. Because I mean, people will abuse that. Maybe they'll make a profit out of it. And the longer you stay there, just like TikTok, the longer you stay there, the more money they make.
Mm-hmm.
Probably that's the direction we're being. Isn't that the real definition of hell? You not even having a chance to ever come in contact with
what
the
is
ground of this.
Or you feel like it's drifting away from that.
The same way we've been running through books, we run through augmented reality and AI and so on.
Well, I think it is. It's likely going there. Because for me, on the material level of reality, I don't think that's all there is when it comes to reality. On this level of existence, that's what it is. But it's not all there is. It's not all there is. Yeah.
So, but can you feel that wall that we have between us and that which you feel there is?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that wall that you can't climb?
Yeah.
Now add another wall of AI. And who knows how long this thing's been going on?
A long
which
time.
all of this I call time. As long as this going on is there, it just gets worse and worse and
but
worse.
isn't that the case with knowledge nowadays, that it seems to drift away from God or from anything that you can call spiritual? It always seems its aim is to disapprove that there is this.
I mean, people are even afraid. They're ashamed of talking about God. I mean, if you're a real scientist, if you're a respected scientist, talking about God is a mockery. They make fun of it.
So I think the more we move away from that, you are right, the more you actually move away from.
And the more the religious people will be the worst even. They probably put us in some other Yeah, and actually, to be honest, is there really any religious person? This is, I mean, to be successful, it seems like you have to be some sort of clown or
Yeah.
some sort of misinterpret
Mm.
truth in one way or another because of your arrogance or your ignorance, something like that. So we are caught in this thing then.
Yeah, there's no way to escape it by being part of it. That's how I can put it. It's either you join it or you suffer the consequences.
That sounds like Illuminati. Isn't that the mark
Yeah.
of the devil?
Yes.
It's
It's either you join it, you become so good at it, or
Yeah.
you just step out and become.
You know, that's one reason I'm so scared of knowledge, as important as it is.
Yeah.
See, when I look at those things there,
Mm.
even to open it,
Yeah.
because I know there's some value in it. You can understand human beings, like, you know, behavior and all that.
Mm.
But I mean, you can also understand human beings by looking at your own movements. Why
yeah.
don't you do that? Why start
Yeah.
from someone's, you know,
Perspective.
perspective and then try to see if it's true or not?
Yeah. Mm.
So
I don't think true knowledge comes from the knowledge
From
as we understand it. I
So
think
it's-
true knowledge is something that already resides in us. If you
yeah, that
search,
space is there already.
if you search deep enough, well, I'm saying search, but that capacity, if you come to a point where you become aware of it, you are likely to fill it up with the right
Mm.
kind of, or call it information or whatever it
But
is.
why is that allowing this confusion?
I don't think it allows it. I don't think it allows it.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, it depends on what you then call that. Because if you look at it from a Christian perspective,
Mm.
everything that is happening now, from a Christian perspective, especially if you read the Bible,
Mm.
it's already been mentioned that these things will happen.
So then,
Like what you are saying that-
so it's inevitable that we'll go down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
But
And-
that's hell.
well, it's not hell yet.
No, I don't see any worse hell.
So I'll give you, like the Bible does say, in the last days,
Yeah.
men will be lovers of themselves and lovers of money. It's happening like that.
It's been happening for ages.
Yeah, but it's not going down.
Oh, it's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
You know, there will be wars, there will be rumors of wars, there will be natural it mentions all these things. You see? But it doesn't end there. It's like it gives a whole timeline of what's going to happen, and when you see this is
Yeah.
pointing towards this, and so there's a start and there's an end to it.
Perhaps those guys that died, you know, our Jesuses and them, perhaps truly they ascended out of this goddamn hole.
Yes, they
Yeah,
saw through
They
it.
must,
They did see through
yeah,
it.
because you see, I don't see the whole. To me, that is the real definition of hell, like eternity of going downhill,
Yeah.
right?
Well, hell, maybe to put it in a way that will be relevant to you, hell is simply being cut off from that.
From that, yeah. And the way it is, it's the longer we go, the more cut off we are.
So, in the biblical sense, hell will be being cut off from God.
Mm.
You see, and if you can feel it that there is this thing there, and I do feel that once you cannot get to that thing, then the only thing that you'll experience is this path. Then that is hell, and that is even hell in the Christian sense of things.
So why all these organizations, these religious organization or scientist organization, making it worse?
There are a bunch of people that are confused. They'll always be there. There are
But
people
the
that
most successful ones are the most confused.
well,
thank-
successful in the worldly sense.
The way we call it, yeah. Because I
successful.
mean, the whole idea, for instance, of Catholic Church,
Mm.
of having a pope, the hierarchy,
Yeah.
and I apologize for the Christian, the Catholic people out there. I feel it's just completely wrong. I mean, it's completely wrong.
Yeah. So some of
But
these
it's the most powerful religion
in the world, yeah, in the worldly sense.
Mm.
So this is why I'm saying that some of these things only exist or only have power in a setup of the world. You perceive them that way to have power. But when you step out, they don't have the power that you think they have. So
But
it
these
depends
guys,
on
they can take us. They want right now because we are nothing to them right now.
Yeah, but they take you out of which life that you want to hold on to so
No,
dear.
I was yeah. But
You understand?
besides the physical suffering, I don't
Yeah.
think there's any psychological suffering they can give. So then we are at their mercy. Sometimes the way I feel it's, and that's for the one reason I'm doing this. I feel like there's a way to. There's some sort of revolution undergoing that has to be so subtle, so small, in its movement, that by the time probably they realize it has already been not established, but it's there, to bring some sort of order, at least, for anyone to be at least serious. And maybe that's just my personal hope. I don't know.
Your personal hope is found in Christianity. Yeah, because that's what Christianity now talks about, that there will be an order out of this.
But Christianity
case.
is the most infiltrated religion.
Well, it's infiltrated, yes.
Because you have your Pope there.
Yes, infiltrated, yes. But if you are serious enough,
Yeah.
you will see the Pope for what he is.
Yet to keep on giving him what's it called?
Well,
the offerings.
those that do that are not serious enough.
But okay, I think the Protestants divorced from the Catholic, right?
Yes.
Yet they've created their own nonsense there.
Yes. So then also, it's looking at it that way, someone who's looking at it still from a certain perspective. Christianity is a personal thing. It's got nothing to do with Catholics. It's got nothing to do with Protestants. It has a lot to do with the questions that you are also asking yourself. So if you search deep enough those questions, you don't have to go to the Catholics or to the Protestants, right? Suppose you're saying that if there is that, then that has to come through at your point of need. It has to, if there is that. Understand? And so Christianity will tell you that if you search deep enough, that will draw near to you.
So if the way I feel, it's almost as if the most serious churches should be empty.
Yes.
Because your guys there would leave you within a week or two, because you've given them, enough to.
Yeah, the most serious of Christians will have 2 or 4 guys following them.
The moment it becomes a structure,
yeah,
it's dangerous.
And also, like I'm saying to you, that when it comes to then Christianity, a lot of people that find fault or find something wrong with it is those that look at it from an organizational perspective or a denominational perspective.
Well, if you look at it, I think looking at it already, you're not even serious. If you really, but it's one hell of an equation. This thing.
But if you look at it from a personal perspective now and say, look, these are the questions that I have, right? These are the circumstances that I find myself in. Right? If that is there, can it meet me at this point? Because I'm finding myself at this point and I need answers. Christianity then touches you on a personal. You get answers to these questions that you have. And I know you have other religions that also try and do the same.
Yeah.
They have answers. They have a way of, understanding what's happening in the
you
world.
even have
and stuff.
Satanists.
Yeah, you have even Satanists telling you that this is how we do things. But as a serious person, if you really are searching for the answers, you will find them.
So, for instance, if you really see the gravity, at least the seriousness of this thing, if you really, let's assume that we are not just mad, we are not just, talking nonsense. If that is the case, the reality of what's going on, you see the seriousness of the whole thing, right? So, what can you do? on a personal level, what would be your approach?
I think for me, because I look at it from a perspective of a Christian, right? So most of it does not catch me by surprise, because these are things that have already been spoken of. You understand? These are things that I've come to understand through my Christianity on a personal level. Not because someone told me this or someone told me that, on a personal
It's
level.
actual.
So without trying to go even deep, you see Donald Trump. Donald Trump is mentioned in the Bible.
Donald Trump, what did it say?
How about his role?
What's his role?
So when you read the Bible, right, it talks about events that will take place, right? That certain rulers will come into power. When you see this ruler coming into power, this is what he's going to do, and when he does this, these are the things that you must start to look out for and stuff like that. So Donald Trump as a ruler, I'm saying he has that timeline when it comes into place and what he's going to do, right? But also check out Donald Trump, the war happening between Israel and Palestine. That also is mentioned in the Bible, that this will happen and that will happen, and America, all these things are going to take place. But so without really getting deep into it, I'm saying as a Christian, when you see some of these things that have been said that they are going to happen and you see them happening, they give you a point and an understanding of where you find yourself in terms of events happening in the world, in human affairs and stuff like that. So it helps you understand like what you're saying. If you're serious enough, it helps you understand, okay, this is where I am and this is what I'm supposed to do, this is how I'm supposed to live my life. And for me, I haven't found any religion that offers that kind of explanation to events that are happening around the world. And because Christianity does offer that, this is why I would then cling on to it. Because
have you not found, because you haven't searched, or could it be that the other guys also feel that way?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if Islam does mention any of these
Islam
things.
does actually.
I don't know if
They have a very
if the Quran has such prophecies that this is going to happen.
I'm gonna put you in touch with one of
the reason why already I put away the Quran is that they're also waiting for Jesus to come back as the Messiah.
Oh, so Jesus hasn't come yet?
No, they are waiting for him. He's gonna be the one that's gonna be coming there. So already I know it's connected to what I already
that's why it's complicated.
But now, like I said, if you look at it from that perspective, it's going to vex you. So rather look at it from a personal perspective and say, does this speak to my circumstances or not?
Okay, to finish it off then. Okay, let's assume that's what we're saying is correct. That God's will is the free will, right? And somehow our will is, although kind of free, but it always leads to God's will. So then do you mean to tell me that the guys that will go down the rabbit hole eternally are doomed? There's no going back? Like the not chosen one, I hate that word. Any man who's escaped from the rabbit hole has already escaped from the get-go.
You see those questions, the challenge about that is, like I said, if you haven't experienced something on a personal level, it's hard to then answer for things that are way beyond your understanding in terms of what you have experienced. There'll always be questions, there'll always be things that you don't understand that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the universal truth.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you have to do with truth that you have come to know and understand that this is a truth that speaks of my life, and I can
no, but I don't, just give me your opinion. My question is this. if God's will is, you can't go around God's will. It will be that way. Just like what you say in the Bible, it's written. Things will happen and they are happening. So, do you mean to say that if there's a possibility for people to go downhill, as we are seeing it, the more we evolve, the more downhill we're going, do you mean to tell me that these people are doomed? There's no saving them then?
They are doomed out of their own will. They make that decision.
But the God's will is the ultimate will.
Yes,
Yeah.
but in that context, they still have the ability to make decisions.
Which will be God's will.
Which means God knew that they were going to make that decision.
Yeah.
He doesn't make the decision for them. So they still have the option. Otherwise, he doesn't have right to judge them. What gives God the right to judge them is that they made the decision and
Yeah.
then God said, okay, it's fine.
And they'll do that for an eternity because there's no end to that downhill.
You choose. They can
It's a choice.
change at the last minute. Some people literally change at the last second. The thief on the cross, for example.
I feel like he changed a long time ago. If he can change at the last
You feel
second.
that way, but it did change at the last
He
minute.
changed right
Yeah.
on the cross when he's about to die, 6 hours away from dying.
The 11th hour.
Yeah, that's from our perspective. But I'm talking from the perspective of the eternity of time, not eternity of time, the continuity of time. That man always changes at the end, at the last second before that. So to him, it seems like this
But
is
it
the first
changes
time.
out of his own will.
That's the
Well,
point.
I guess, I don't know. I
He
don't know,
changes
but
out of his own
I
will.
guess that's why I wanted to talk about free will. I just wanted to have a...
I think the other challenge, also, even on that topic, I get a lot of people sometimes asking about it. Just because someone allows something doesn't mean they cause it to happen. I can see that something is going to happen, right? And allow it to happen, but make preparation for that thing if it happens. But it doesn't mean I've caused it. You have made it happen through your own free will.
Yeah, true. But you've kind of caused it too.
However, I caused it.
It's like a child climbing on the table there and jumping. You know that his will. You know the consequences. You might as well stop him.
If I stop him,
Yeah.
then I'm stopping the
Yeah,
will
you're
of that
stopping
child.
the will.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, this case is even worse because I know that this man will do that
You know,
from the very beginning.
you know, someone asked me that, and what I asked them was,
Mm.
when people have kids, don't they know that those kids are gonna die? When you
Yeah, they
decide
do.
to have a child.
Do they even have kids on their own?
That's what I'm saying now.
Yeah.
If you wish to have kids, why
Yeah.
would you have kids when you know they're gonna die? Or when you know there's a possibility that they might turn out to be murderers? Or
Everything is pushing me to have kids.
why then do it? But you know, you have this
Yeah,
information.
I know this information.
So because you know it, does that mean you cause the death of the child or the child to become a murderer?
No.
They
Of course not.
will have an option to be better or not.
Yeah, they have an option.
Okay. So if you see that they have an option, that's why you then have the child. So why can't you see that even in the same way that God can create a human being by still give him an option and not to become a murderer or to become
But are you
one?
creating a child because you want him to be a good child? Or you're just creating a child because a child
They
needs
decide what they want to be.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what's the point of creating a child?
For God.
For you?
For me.
Yeah.
Oh, people have kids for different reasons. Some
Yeah.
have kids for selfish reasons.
It's only selfish reason.
Well, some might say
Can you have a kid for non-selfish reason?
Yeah.
Like what?
I have an empire that I need them to inherit.
Yeah,
if I
that's
die,
selfish.
it's not selfish. If I die,
You
then-
want your continuity.
but I'll be dead. So
Yeah, that's your
benefit,
continuity.
What benefit do I have when I'm dead? What's continuing there? I just want them to enjoy my riches. I have nothing
No,
to gain there.
you want. Well, first of all, you've probably gotten bored of all the riches. You want something else. You want something that looks like you.
No, but I'm saying in this case, I realize I have serious amounts of wealth,
Yeah.
and if I die, there's no one who's gonna take over this. Then I have a child. That's not a selfish reason.
Well, you want to keep those things to yourself.
But I'm dead.
Yeah, but rather your kids have them than some stranger have them.
That's not being selfish.
Oh, well, yeah, it's selfish. You're thinking about yourself through your kids. Why don't you just give it to some random people?
If I'll still be alive to see that,
Yeah.
then I would call it selfish. But I'll be dead. It has nothing
Yeah.
to do with me. I'm gone.
No, my brother, thank you so much for coming. I think that's what I wanted to discuss. Free will, from my understanding, there's no freedom in will. There's will, but no freedom in will as we know it. The impression that we have of choosing A and B is actually not free. It's bound by something else. But there is freedom out there, just not known to us. And I feel like ultimately a serious man should reach a free life. You should live a free life. That's a good life to live. Otherwise, anything coming out of a limited way of looking at life is going to be very destructive and has no end. And that's literally the definition of hell, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
You want to put something else?
No,
Yours?
I'm good.